let's get back to where we was at. What was we just discussing, brother? Or what was you curious for me to expand upon, or whatever the case may be?
We were going in on ego.
Oh, yes. That ego, boy. Woo! That ego rules the world, man. And you know who's the most egotistical people? The people who remind you they ain't got no ego. Those are the most egotistical people. That's why anybody that knows my ascension, they know I always remind them, I never say I don't have an ego. I say that I make my ego microscopic to my intelligence. Because in order to live in the third dimension as a so-called human being in this density, you have to have some type of ego. It's your ego that stops you from coming outside butt naked. You see what I'm saying? It's your ego that stops you from making random, complete reactions in what's the word I want to use? Certain behaviors that an unegotistical person wouldn't do. You see what I'm saying? The same thing as I was explaining with a baby and a child. See, if you notice a child will look at an obese person and point and say fat. You see, because they don't have no ego, they're just observing. And the truth is that obese person is fat. That's the truth. But see, they're not supposed to say that because that's not nice. But see, what is nice? Nice is manners. What is manners? Manners is ego. You see what I'm saying? And we tend to hear the word ego and automatically assume that means it has to be something negative. But just like all things in existence, it has a polarity. So ego is also the fact that you're helping the old lady across the street because it's the Christian thing to do. So you're not helping her across the street because you're a genuinely righteous, nice person. You're helping her across the street is because you go to church and somebody told you that what would Jesus do? So now you're helping the old lady across the street. Ego is the person that sees you drop $1, looks around and see who's looking first. And then when they see somebody's watching, then they go, oh, you dropped $1. But if nobody was watching, they pick up the $1. That's ego. You see what I'm saying?
Makes sense.
So once again, we got to understand, you're not born with ego. Okay? Because if you want to know what God is, if you want to know what God acts like in a physical form, look at a baby. Look at a brand new baby to this world who just got the ability to crawl. I'm not talking about a toddler. I'm talking about a baby who just got to the stage and capability of being able to move themselves around wherever they are. Observe what they pick up. Observe how they look at things. If you notice, they look at things with no judgment. They have this look in their eyes that's just a combination of amazement, confusion, and wonder. Because they're not judging it, they're observing it. You see what I'm saying? And that's the difference. When we understand the difference between judging and observing, you see? When we understand the difference between divinity and humanity, when we understand the difference between immortality and health, when we understand the difference between age and eternity, when we understand the difference between all these different things that separate us from our true primordial existence of what we originally here to be, then that's when that activation begins. So once again, look at the baby. The baby will put anything in its mouth. You got to teach the baby that's wrong. You got to teach the baby manners. You got to teach the baby not to hit another baby. You got to teach the baby not to do this. But half the thing that the baby does out of its own intelligence to find out a knowingness of what it's looking at or what it's experiencing. Not because it's an evil baby. It's picking up the Lego off the floor to know and feel what the Lego is, utilizing the 5 senses to come to a conclusion based on its intelligence. So once the baby tastes the Lego and realizes it's not food, it spits it right out. That's intelligence. Once the baby touches the fire and realizes it burns, it don't touch it again. That's intelligence. You see? So ego is not something you're naturally born with. And that's why, by the way, if you notice, if you watch movies or even if you study, go on.
Now, you know, one of the things that I've noticed, I don't know if it's a DNA thing, but there are some characteristics that tend to pass. What is that?
Characteristics that tend to pass? What
For
you mean?
example, my youngest brother,
yeah,
he knows nothing of my father. Like, we didn't grow up with my father.
Oh, you're about to get into genetics.
And he's showing so many traits of his dad right now that it's like, Now, what is that?
Now, what you're talking right now is genetic inheritances, or what white people call that. But at the end of the day, you can change your DNA just by the consistency of habits. As a matter of fact, as we speak right now, that's what we started talking about earlier with the fact of them controlling and doing what they do to us, the same way they do to insects, and how they program you to a certain extent to where they can actually rip apart your genetics and put them back together a different way. And due to that consistency in science, you can give birth to generations that fit that genetics after it's been modified. You know what I'm saying? So I'll put it to you like this. Perfect example is slavery. Because 400, 500, however many numbers we want to add to it or take away from it, 400 years, 300 and something years, 500, whatever it might be, you have 3 to 4 generations within 1 century. Every generation is raised and taught with a certain mindset that passes that mindset down to the next generation. After about 4 generations, that mindset and that habit is locked into that race or that group. You see? So therefore, now it becomes not only a part of your mindset, but it becomes a part of your genes and your genetics. This is why it's so important to get us out of a human aspect. This is why I'm not going to lie. I don't waste my time trying to build a bridge between your human thinking and your God mind. I tell everybody that I'm an activator because I want to say things to you that provoke what I know already exists inside you. If I say something to you that'll automatically click, all the other shit I gotta go through becomes irrelevant because now you're already there. You see? So my purpose here, I chose this paradigm filled with technology, this paradigm where you have an app for wiping your own ass, this paradigm where you don't appreciate nature, this paradigm where you could create blurred lines between gender, which is universal law. I chose this paradigm to activate what you were meant to be at this point in time. The only reason why you're not that at this point in time is because this recessive, who has a 6,000 year cycling clock, has been here longer than he's supposed to. So therefore, your activation has been stunted. And that's why certain times, I don't want to get too esoteric with this, but that's why certain times, certain deities, certain teachers, certain people, whatever you might want to call them, prophets, whatever you want to call them, appear in a certain cycle of error to raise the people's consciousness or to activate them and to activate them in pockets. Because remember, it's about the handful, not the many. And that's another thing we really have to get over. I'm so sick of hearing this save all black people, save all that. By all means, I'm not telling you to throw your babies out the window. I'm just telling you that your brother might not need to be saved. I'm just telling you that your mama might need to go. I'm just telling you that your uncle might be one of the niggas that's gonna turn your ass in. I'm just telling you, stop thinking that everybody that has your skin and your 9 ether follicle is you. Because before that physical form is the energetic form. And before the energetic form is the etheric form. And the etheric form is what you truly are. Because consciousness has no beginning. It's only the physical plane and the physical body that has a beginning and an end. But what you are inside your mind has been here forever. And once you realize that, guess what happens? Your age reverses. Guess what happens? You're able to do physical things that technically are supposed to be impossible. All the human things that you call needs become absolutely irrelevant. Whether it's food, whether it's water, becomes irrelevant. And then you get to a point where you don't even think about it, you don't even desire it, therefore you don't need it. And now we're going back to the habit forming aspect. Because guess what? Somebody taught you you need 3 meals a day. And since you've been taught you need 3 meals a day, you have conditioned generations that come from your seed to expect 3 meals a day. So when you skip 1 meal, you are now automatically, by definition, starving. And if you think you're starving, then you are starving. And as soon as you think and believe that you're starving, then your body is going to react like you're starving. And when your body reacts like you're starving, now you're breaking down your cells, your molecules, and your DNA. Because it's your mind that sets up the genetic frequency, the sequences that go inside your body. Once you get your mind to a certain point in perspective, everything else around you in the physical world doesn't even fucking exist anymore. You can put your whole hand through a stack of bricks and not feel no pain and not have no muscles.
I wonder if Bruce Lee was achieving that.
All of them do, because that's what martial arts teach you. I took martial arts. It teaches you that. The first thing they teach you in martial arts is how to breathe. You heard me? The first thing they teach you in martial arts is how to breathe. Why do you think that's the first thing you learn? See, people look at martial arts and they see a physical form of fighting and violence and defense, but that's not what martial arts is at all. It's an art of physical spirituality. Let me say that one more time. It's an art of physical spirituality. The first thing that you're taught in martial arts is how to breathe. The second thing you're taught in martial arts is how to stretch. And guess what? Both of those things have to deal with oxygen. Because when you stretch, you open up the capillaries and the muscles in your body to release oxygen into your body. Every time you do a stretch, every time you do any form of bending and flexing your entire body, you are opening up pockets within your meridian channels that let oxygen in, that give you more strength to the area of your body. If you want to know what's truly divine to the physical body, think about what your body forces you to do every day without you even being conscious of it. When you wake up in the morning, what's the very first thing your body forces you to do? Think about that. When you get out of bed, what's the first thing your body forces you to do? Whether you want to do it or not, don't even matter. What are you thinking? Okay, now that's different. I'm talking about something that doesn't even matter about your lifestyle. Because guess what? If you was fasting, you would never take a shit. You never have to go to the bathroom. So whether you're fasting, whether you're not fasting, whether you're spiritual, not spiritual, whether you're a super duper Buddha, I don't give a fuck what you are. I'm talking about the shit that your body forces you to do just because you're on the physical human plane. That's what I'm talking about. As soon as you wake up in the morning, your body forces you to stretch. You go, ugh. Your body forces you to deep breathe and stretch, whether you want to or not. When you're sitting in a chair for an hour and a half, what the first thing your body forces you to do? Stretch. Because as you are sitting in the chair, you're blocking meridian channels and oxygen to certain parts of your body. So your intelligent body, by the way, goes, let's stretch this nigga out. So we can wake ourselves back up, whether he likes it or not. I dare anybody to try not to stretch. Force yourself not to stretch and see what happens. Be conscious of it. When you feel a stretch coming on, hold yourself tight. See what happens. Because you're in control of your body, right? That's what you think, right? Your body is intelligence. Your body has its own mind separate from yours. Every organ has its own mind. But that's a whole nother subject.
Every time when you talk about
Think of who?
Alita, the movie.
Alita? Oh, okay.
Because Alita,
I ain't see that yet.
part of it is that there's an ancient technology. And when it's integrated with her brain and her heart, she becomes like superhuman or like super advanced. You know? So Alita's that ancient technology, I guess they're trying to push us into nanotech and get us to...
And that ain't no fucking ancient nothing. That's destroying your ass.
It is. They want us to embrace technology as a whole. But if I went ahead and flip it from nanotech to the body, that body that they're referring to is us. You know, and we're the ancient technology. You know?
Or what else are you really talking about? Melanin.
Yeah, melanin.
You're talking about melanin,
Absolutely
which is pure physical intelligence. And let me add this too, since you brought up technology. There's two different types of technology. There's the technology that all of y'all ass is addicted and dependent on, which is the synthetic recessive technology. And then there's the technology that your ancestors practiced, which is the organic technology. Talking about the utilizing and concentration and magnifying of crystals to create a laser. I'm talking about utilizing the concentration of magnetism and polarization to create levitation and move a 20-ton stone on the top of a last piece of a pyramid. I'm talking about the technology of sound waves to where you can hit a certain large point of tuning fork and you can change the vibrational waves in the ionosphere to create no gravity. Therefore, moving an entire building with the push of your arm.
Wow.
I'm talking about technology where you're using a hematite stone that's jet black but simultaneously silver that conducts all the energy from the sun and storing it into a jet pillar to where you have electrical energy indefinitely. I'm talking about the technology of utilizing the Kundalini energy from the bottom of your spine going to your crown and being able to light a light bulb with your finger.
Wow.
This is what your ancestors did. Your ancestors didn't need a goddamn 5G, 6G, all this nonsense. Your ancestors didn't need Con Edison and all this bullshit. Because they understood that even the air we breathe in right now is filled with etheric energy. And every breath you take is a thermodynamic process inside your solar plex, creating the heat generating from your body as we speak right now. And that heat generating from your body is a specific energy that can be harnessed into another organic aspect, stored and used later. This is why white people can connect electrodes to your goddamn body and test what your symptoms are. What do you think they're reading? They're reading your electro energy from your body. Got the light here.
So what about Nikola Tesla? Was Nikola Tesla like no, we good.
I don't trust New York drivers, bro. They'll run a red light just to go to another red light. I don't trust these motherfuckers. But go on.
So I don't know how true it is, but it was said that he was brought to Egypt, Nikola Tesla, and was exposed to certain technology, which he then was later on able to reverse engineer. You know?
Now, be honest with you, the story of Nikola Tesla, I've heard numerous stories in a more esoteric aspect, metaphysical aspect, beyond his physical body. I've talked to brothers who have gone into trances. By the way, me personally, I'm not knocking nobody. I actually, I don't even know the right word to use, but I'm not knocking or judging anybody. But I've never used mushrooms. I've never used peyote and all these different psychedelic organisms, because they are organisms. So I won't call them drugs per se, but they do contain chemicals, but that's another story. It's really about how you use it. Just like marijuana. As soon as you burn marijuana, you've turned it into a chemical. You're supposed to drink it or you're supposed to vaporize it. People get mad at you because people want to believe just because something grow out of the ground, it makes it 100% great and perfect and blah, blah, blah. But you're forgetting cocaine grows out the ground. You're forgetting heroin grows out the ground. Okay, that's what opioids is. You know, that's what the coca leaf is. So the fact that it can grow out of some dirt doesn't necessarily make it perfect. But anyway, I say that to say that in my beginning stages of my journey, I hung around a lot of, I don't even want to call them shamans, but a lot of, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I hung around a lot of people who felt they were extra deep because they got high all the time. And they always went on trips. Now, don't get it twisted. They definitely had a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom, but they were dependent on something outside of themselves to bring clarity. And that's something that Mind Ascension is not big on. I don't depend on things outside of myself to find answers or to get an inside look on something. I don't need to take mushrooms or PCP and all of this stuff so I can give y'all deep answers. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, my whole point is, I talked to numerous brothers, and the reason why I only bring this up is because 3 different brothers told me this that don't know each other. So that's why I'm bringing this up. When you want to look for truth and facts, utilize different sources that are unrelated that give you the same answer. If I go to 9 people and ask the same question, and out of those 9 people, 8 people give me the same exact answer, most likely that's the truth. Long story short, those 3 brothers separately told me that Nikola Tesla was from Venus, and that Nikola Tesla was a black alien, and that basically he came to the planet to reintroduce energy that was already here. Now, what you're talking about with the Egyptian thing, I've heard that as well. Now, you will never hear Mind Ascension speak with confidence on shit he doesn't know, and on shit he never been there for. I never met Nikola Tesla, don't know his ass. I wasn't there when he was living or dead or whatever the hell anybody want to say, so I won't speak with confidence, but I can express to you the multiple stories that I've heard and the ones that have coincided to an accumulation of being closer to the truth, only because the stories can't match up so well and be from so many different sources and not have some piece, slight, eensy-weensy, microscopic truth to it. So my main point is Nikola Tesla, and this also goes into something else, because remember, Nikola on his physical plane was a white man. And one of the brothers told me that he chose that vessel because the information that he came here to share, he knew that they weren't going to believe a black man. So he chose a white body to express the science. Not only that, he chose the white body because he knew he would have more access to certain laboratories and certain funds. So, but that's a whole nother perspective. Like I said, mine ascension ain't saying this is fact. Mine ascension ain't saying none of that. All I'm doing is sharing with y'all, because I've sat with many elders. I sit with people who are into certain esoteric aspects and partake in certain things that I personally don't partake in, but I utilize them. And I always remain a student. And I'm always absorbing as much as I can. So I bring that up because my brother brought up Nikola Tesla. But anyway, he was on point. And it's funny because this is how powerful Nikola Tesla is. Nikola Tesla was so on point that even as a white man, they still don't teach him in schools. But
Yeah,
why is that?
They don't.
Why is that? He's a white European genius.
Yeah.
Even Albert Einstein, they interviewed Albert Einstein and they said, how does it feel to be the smartest person in the world? He said, you got to ask Nikola Tesla that. But yet he's never taught in your schools.
Yeah, it's never taught.
Because the things that he taught was so beyond the stage that the recessive wants to keep you at, that it jeopardizes his existence.
Yes, it does.
So if just one child tries to imitate Nikola Tesla, this entire society will fall apart. All the major billionaire, trillionaire corporations will be destroyed.
One of the things about him too, he didn't graduate from college.
Oh shit, the fuck? Y'all know how I feel about that shit.
Yeah, yeah. So,
I'm a GED recipient, y'all, by the way. And I done sat in circles when I'm talking IBM motherfuckers. When back in my early, let me just share a little personal stuff with y'all, which I usually don't. Back in my early days, I used to try to be European because I thought that being part of secret societies and being a Mason and all of this stuff, I was so addicted and obsessed with knowing everything that I joined many groups in order to be a sponge in the middle of them. Now, I'm not a Mason. I'm just talking about fake ass, Fisher Price ass Europeans trying to imitate higher esoteric stuff. And one thing I discovered when I was sitting in circles with these rich, wealthy people who thought that they were so much better than everybody because they realized GMOs and fluoride and all of this other shit long before it became a trend now, because I'm talking about over 10 years ago. As I sat with them, I realized simultaneously, because one thing we all should never do is when you find something you're comfortable with, don't stop going the other way. Some of us get comfortable being a Moor. Some of us get comfortable being in comedic science. Some of us get comfortable with an RBG flag. One thing about Mind Ascension is my journey never stopped, and it still hasn't stopped to this day, because I'm always continuing to expand. And my main point is, when I was sitting in these circles with these white people and they would tell me about the glorious high mystery sciences of India and the great adepts in Europe and the shamans of North and South America, but they would never ever mention one thing about Africa. Never. They would go all over the world, China, India, America, Europe. Never ever would they mention anything about Africa. And that got me curious. So I kept studying beyond the books that they gave me. And the funny thing about it is, as I'm sitting in these magical groups paying dues and shit, I was learning 10 times more doing my own studies. And when I would hit them with my shit, they would sit there like, who the fuck is this guy? You know what I'm saying? I'll never forget one time I was having I don't even want to call it a debate, but it was a white guy. He was actually a part of the Neuron scheme. I don't know if you ever heard of that, years ago, where it was like a major white company that stole everybody's money and shit. And he was telling me about the first time he received $1 million check. And we had this whole conversation, and then I forgot what we was talking about, but long story short, he started asking me like, hey, you know, what fraternity are you in, and blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him and said, I'm a GED recipient. The motherfucker couldn't say shit because he couldn't say that's good, and then he couldn't say that's bad. So I'm gonna tell you what white people say when they don't know what to say. That's interesting. That's quite interesting. But long story short, I ran circles around these motherfuckers. And we talking about people who own $1 million businesses. We talking about people who are part of Masonic orders. And once I realized that I was running circles around the people who claim to try to teach me, I left all that shit behind. That's my block right here. But anyway, I'm gonna cut this short with my brother right here. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad my brother was here because usually I would be avoiding these, not even avoiding, but y'all know Mind Ascension. I gotta have some dialogue with intelligent brothers, man. If I don't have intelligent people around me, I just go into my own little box. Yes, Mind Ascension goes into his box too. Sometimes, let me say this before I get off. Your box could be anything. Your box could be the most intelligent person in the world, so you're too intelligent to talk to people. That's a box. Your box could be, I'm an esoteric occultist and y'all humans ain't got shit on me. That's a box. But me personally, anybody that chooses to dialogue with me in any way, shape, or form, I dialogue with them. But the thing about me is I don't initiate it. But when it's initiated with me, I'll take the time and I'll walk with that person no matter who they are. No matter who, with no judgment, with no nothing. Because I'm about expansion. And I also recognize when I put myself in a box. Because I've put myself in a box plenty of times. And as soon as I recognize it, I break out the box. And that's the beauty about being honest with yourself. That's the beauty about your intelligence dominating your ego. So when you realize that you are limiting yourself by any means, whether it's religion, whether it's comedic science, whether it's fucking Moorish science, whatever the hell it is, when you realize that you're limiting yourself based on the information that you choose that's comfortable to you, you know you're in a box. And then you could just break wide open. It's like the elephant in the circus that's been chained to the stump for so long. Even when I take the chain off, the elephant don't even move. That's what it's like. I can be so consistent in my limitation and my suppression of someone that even when they're free, they don't even realize they're free, which is a lot of us today because we walking dead motherfuckers today. But my brother here, man, you know, anything you want to add, my brother?
I appreciate the time, you know. I appreciate
Oh, this ain't the last. This ain't the last.
The energy, and I'm here to learn. You know,
brother, I'm here to learn too. Yeah. That's all life is about. Your existence, every dimension, and every physical lifespan in human reality is a school and a grade. Why do you think they call college a university? You see, white people didn't name this stuff. The Moors named this shit. The Moors called Toledo a university. The Moors named that shit. White people just copied it. They call it a university because your true school is the earth in the universe, not a building. Your true school is nature, not a classroom. So every dimension that you're in is a physical grade within a school of learning. So if you live in a dimension and choose to stay within a box or choose to stay within one form of lesson, I guarantee you're going to repeat that shit just like you repeat a grade in high school. Because you're here to expand beyond this dimension in order to reach the next level. That's how you reach the next level. You reach the next level by getting so far beyond human shit, you can't exist with humans anymore. So now next thing you know, you wake up and you in a fifth dimension, but technically you in the third, but people can't see you. And you're like, wait a second, I'm looking right at this nigga. Why did the police go by me, but they didn't go by him? Why am I the only one that saw the $20 bill and 100 people walked by it and didn't see it? Why am I the only one that heard that sound and nobody else heard it? That's because you're on the border of dimensions. Because the more you raise your energy and the more you raise your consciousness, you cut through the veil. And that's not no trying to sound deep shit. That's some real shit. Why do you think a dog can hear tones you can't hear? If you can't hear something, does that mean it didn't happen? If I blow a whistle right now and 20 dogs come running from down the street, but this brother right next to me didn't hear the whistle, does that mean the sound doesn't exist? Or does that mean me and this brother's tone of ear can't hear that frequency of sound? There's colors that exist around us that we can't even see due to the spectrum of our iris. But on that note, y'all, my brother here, signing off, Mind Ascension. I love y'all. Please subscribe, comment, share, everything, man. I do private consultations. You know what I'm saying? Mind Ascension here. I love y'all. Y'all are gods of this earth. Understand what y'all are. Get over your human captivity now.